course, education and social development. What's the fundamental of our class? I was at the National Chengchi University on last Friday after our photo shooting, on Friday, and I take the high-speed rail to Taipei and join in the forum of the forum on the early childhood education. And on my part, I have told all the participants there were 5 paper presented and 3 teachers to give them their advice. And I was one of them, and I have emphasized that we must ask again and again the fundamental questions. What is education? And what is childhood? What is early childhood? What should early childhood education do? And so on and so on. So back to our course. All the same, we must ask the fundamental questions. For example, today we will discuss some issues. For example, globalization. So we must ask ourselves, what does the globalization mean? And what has its meaning to do with our agenda, education, and social development? So I would like to focus on 4 parts: your title, your problematic, your conceptualization, and your data. It means your method to collect your data. And by problematic, it means to ask the question. I would rather introducing the German word because it is much logical than English. This is question. And this is make your question, ask your question. You can say it is asking, it is raising. So, from the English version of this concept, problematic, it is not really have some problem, but to ask the question. What is your question? What do you want to know? What do you want to know? It is very important. And it leads you to the data, it leads you to the theory, and it leads you to the whole process of your work. And conceptualization, you have observed some phenomena and how to describe it with some certain termini, some certain specific words. It is called conceptualization. To find your concept. Okay. And your method. And because this is not a methodology course here, so I would like to suppose all of you have at least some concept of method, the qualitative method, the quantitative method, and so on, and the content analysis and so on. I must suppose that you have some basic idea about method. And every kind of method, no matter the so-called qualitative or the quantitative, all the so-called methods, no matter which one, they are about how to collect data, how to process data, and how to give you analysis. The collection, the processing, analysis of data is about your method. So each work should, and after this, you should get your data and you should use some concept or theory to get your analysis. It is usually so. Okay, and I suggested that we begin now with the first group, the first agenda, the globalization. Okay, please. Yes. Now, you can you just tell me what you want to speak. Don't worry about that. I will explain that with your framework later. Tell me what you want to do, and if you want to write, you can write on the whiteboard. And to let the classmates see it clearly. Have you something? Or you just want to speak?
I want to check if you really think that
So? And now I need to be remember from now all of the discussion weeks include 6 weeks, yeah? And all the 6 weeks, I am asking all of you to present your part. Remember, each one has his own part. You don't let your other member in your team to present you, but you present what you are responsible for. And you can read. This is for my analysis, for my contribution to your topic. And I suppose you should present for example, this is for this one, and this is for this one, and this is for this one. This is for this one. And each one presents what he would like to do. Okay? So each one must present what you are going to do. And you forgot to bring your writings with us. Or photocopy the blueprint next week, or should I find my cell phone? You are the second one. Which one is the first one? You? Or?
有没有过来上课？是你们要报告我们的工作方面。按那个工作方面表有帮助吗？
Very curious. No one knows who is going to do it. Okay.
在想我有把工作方面表当成一个蛮重要的。
So it's my fault. So I have planned to tell you this one, but I was so eager to listen to you. So last week, at the end of last week, I have told Jiawei and all the others to prepare for today. But actually, today is not for your presentation. Oh my God, it's my fault. My apologies. So, and next week is the agenda 1 and 2. And the week after next week, the literals. And we don't have the agenda 4, but we have 2 agenda 5. So agenda 5 is, so moment, so okay, then we go back to what we should do on the plan. And at first I should like to have a sheet of paper to write down your topics again, and also I think I should follow this and put it next week but at least should stay there. I should like to talk about the textuality and the contextuality and intertextualities in the consumer society, in the popular culture, and in the medialization. All the theories around education and the social development. Okay. So, but if any group of you, I forgot to tell you, any group of you, if you have questions today to ask me, or if you are not supposed to present your temporary results next week. For example, next week is for the Agenda 1 and Agenda 2. But you are of the Agenda 5, for example, but you have questions, you have some problems in preparing your work, you can certainly ask your question anytime. Remember, anytime. Today or the weeks after today, you can ask me your questions anytime. I would allow the question from any group at the during the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes to let you to ask questions. So, okay, last week at the end of our course, so I have told Jiawei and the others to prepare for today. So if you want to present now, because you have prepared, you can certainly present your temporary result, and I give you my advice. And you can also postpone it to next week. And today and next week, so we should correct it. Moment. Okay, we should correct it. So. So, the Agenda 1, globalization, you are not the first group, or which one is
Yes,
going?
we are the first group.
Okay, but you are not going to present today,
Yeah.
and you can present it next
Next
week, no problem. And you, do you want to present now or next week?
We only have a sheet of paper and this outline.
Okay, that's enough. And remember, if you have something else to do and you cannot present so much as you have imagined, for example, you imagine after 3 weeks, you would like to present 1 page for each one, but you are not going to present so many. Don't worry, just give us, all of us, what you have done. And after that, you can still ask me questions. Don't worry, you can always ask me questions. So, I suppose each one of you should present your part. Just 1 or 2 or 3 sentences is enough. Don't worry and don't be shy and don't be nervous. It's very, very easy. You just have to speak some sentence to introduce. Okay, my part is about what, blah, 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 and I am going to research on the phenomenon, and I, for my part, my focus is, or my emphasis is, and it is and I am going to collect what kind of data. So that's all. That is already enough. Okay. This is the abstract or your plan of the whole team or just your part.
No,
The 14 of the 14. Okay, please.
there is a digital area, mobile device, everyday, anywhere. E-book is a kind of digitalized materials and structures. There are many different applications in our country and abroad. According to elementary school, junior high school, and high school, e-book is on the education system in Taiwan. It's not yet a mature application and weakness. So we may discuss how e-book shapes teaching and learning. Several are facing. Looking through the e-book to promote understanding of the current situation as the later e-book develop of reference direction. Number one is comparison of the emerging e-book and traditional materials of paper.
And which one of you is responsible for this part?
We can discuss.
Okay, later. Okay.
And number two, teachers and students have not yet adopted e-book to their digitalized textbooks, views, and attitudes. Number three is after the original teaching model into the e-book university system in the following examples. Change in learning attitudes and perceptions after learning model into the e-book. Five is the conclusions.
Okay. My suggest perhaps you should change your part 2 into part 1 and to introduce to us that how the current situation is. For the other team, how the current situation is usually for the first part. Not necessary, but sometimes it is to introduce to everyone. We are going to discuss this and how is this at present, at this moment, and we describe this at this moment, the current situation. And the comparison, if the other teams have something to compare, maybe it should not be at the first part, maybe the second or the third. And after you have introducing A and B, and then you can compare A and B, right? You should to introduce A and introduce B, and you can compare them. Okay. So maybe you should change your part 2 into part 1. And part 3 should be part 2 to introduce more about the traditional and the digital model of learning. And the comparison should be part 3. And part 4, I am a little slightly worried about this part because changes in learning attitude and perception after learning model into the e-book. And I have told you already at the beginning of the semester, I don't correct your English. This is not an English course, but sometimes I will do it, okay, in order to communicate more effectively. And it should be changes in learning attitude and perception, not after learning. It should be after what? You can just say in introducing the e-books. It's already enough in introducing the e-books. But introducing is not quite suitable. But anyway, you can consider it later, and this is not an English course. So about the paragraphs, I don't correct them, and I can understand them. So we're going to how to write further. It's the most important part. And by conclusion, I suggest my suggestion for each group. If you use introduction as the first part, you use conclusion as the last part, and for the member to write the 2 parts, it is much difficult because what should you write? It is not clear. Introduction, and you must a short description of what would you introduce, and the conclusion. What is your possible conclusion, or you are planning to conclude on which dimensions? I think case deletions after you complete and please. After you complete their part of responsibility, I do not understand what do you mean this. What do you mean?
After we have finished our part of a report, and we come together and discuss our conclusion.
Okay. Normally, I will ask my students when you are you should discuss your outline and you should discuss your conclusion, because it is not just one part for one person. Normally, but in our course, because I asked you to write one part on each one's own. So, conclusion should be written by one person. Certainly, you can discuss it, but I think you should give me some clue, some hint to imagine what kind of conclusion it might be. And it should be written by one person of your team. And this person should have his or her work to do, and not just collect all others say in the discussion. You know what I mean? So you should, without S, conclusion is enough. Conclusion you should, for example, here you can say opportunity and challenge. For example, if you after some discussion to prepare your outline for each group, after some discussion to prepare this outline for me and for the classmates, and you think there are some opportunities and also challenges in the discussion, and maybe I just say maybe you think e-book is a challenge to our present teaching model, or an opportunity to supplement it, to cooperate with the present learning model. And you think opportunity or risk because you think there are some disadvantages in e-book learning model, and you think risk is a key word. So you can, in conclusion, you choose one or two or three, at most three, no more than three. You can choose one or two key words as your conclusion. For example, risk or opportunity, challenge and opportunity, or the new option. Just one. You can risk or opportunity and what I said, challenge and or the new option, and so on. When you discuss your outline, you should have basic imaging of your topic. So you can give me one or two words, and this is the part, this is the responsibility of the person who writes it. He should emphasize on the key word. And don't worry, because when you tell me 2 weeks later, when you of the agenda 3 and the agenda 4, and you have told me you have choose the some key word, but after you present it, you find it not really suitable. Don't worry, you can ask me anytime. Sir, I would rather change the risk and opportunity to opportunity and a challenge. Is that alright? Because I found something new. And I would consider what you have found. And I will tell you, okay, it's no problem. Or I should give you my suggestions. Maybe you can choose another keyword. So I mean just even the introduction or the conclusion, when you work together, remember you should work together but write separately. This is why we use teamwork, because I don't want free rider here. You know free rider? Okay. Everyone work very hard and he or she just play games or go shopping or go vacation, and after all your efforts, you got a grade 85 or 90, but 1% of you didn't do anything. That is not correct. So you should discuss with each other, but write down separately. Let me know how you want, because in your discussion you collect many information and you share your information with your team members. But when you sit down to write it down, you must make your efforts. It is not easy. So each one should make its efforts to process the data and to write it in English into 2-page to 5-page, each one of you. Okay, that's my assignment for you. So you can discuss with each other and to find the suitable title of each part. And when you are responsible for introduction or you are responsible for conclusion, and maybe find 1 or 2 or 3 keywords for your introduction, for your conclusion. That would give me some clearer picture, and to imagine what would you like to do, and also to give yourself a clue to follow and to finish your work. Okay? So, and I mean the changes in learning attitude and perceptions is very difficult to finish, and I am worried about just a little slightly worried about this part, because when you talk about changes, you should have some comparison. And if you compare 2 systems, it is easy. You can find something already written down, introducing the traditional way and introducing the digital way, and you can compare them. You just read and compare them. This kind of comparison is not so difficult. But if you want to compare how the attitude and the perception of students change in the course of from traditional to the new book learning model, and you must have some empirical data. And for you, just some weeks to collect such empirical data is not so easy. So I think it is not a very good title of this part. But I have already told you I will try my best not to change your title, but to make it better. So my suggestion is you just use add one word, possible. The possible changes. So you can discuss by reading. By reading some scholar, he or she said it should bring some positive changes. And by other, they said it brings negative changes. And by the third group, it brings no changes. And you discuss what you have read. And you don't need empirical data. So it is not really changed, but some possible, some hypothesis by the scholars. Unless you find some empirical study. So far as I know, I have not yet read such report. But if you find some report with the solid empirical data and tell us how the attitude and perception change, and you can omit the possible words and back to your original title. Understand? If you found just some saying, just some hypothesis, just some the scholars just to tell us his or her opinion. If you just found opinion, you have not found empirical study. You find many opinions. So you can collect the opinions and tell us the possible changes and to discuss it. It's okay. But if you have found empirical data and that changes, okay? Okay, that's all. So they have 5 persons in the team, and this is their division of labor. So I have, as I have told you, and because because I made this urge to the students to prepare this, so we changed our time plan for this week and next week. And next hour I should introduce the original planned agenda about the textualities. And next week, as this week, we will use 1 hour to discuss the Team 1, your division of labor and your title. And as I have said, you just have 2 persons. That means you just have introduction and conclusion. You can have so many as you wish, and to split it into 2 parts. You can part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4, and so on. And I suggest not too much parts, because you would write it would be a burden for you to write so many parts. My suggestion is 4 parts. 2 for 1 person, and each for 1 page. You write 2 pages, and you write 2 pages. And that is better for you not to have too much burden. But if you have many data, if you have much to say, suddenly I say each of you 2 to 5 pages. Okay? And the total, as the example of you, the total is 4 to 10 pages. And for the group, the agenda 2, the total is 50, it is 25 pages. You should give me 10 to 25 pages. And each one,
We only have 4 people.
4 people. So conclusion is not your, okay. Now I realize what you mean. You don't have the keyword. Okay, that's another way. If I have told you that each one 2 to 5 pages is enough, but if the other team want to do as they, that's no problem for me. That means maybe you give me each one 2 to 5 pages, and besides of that, you give me 1 page conclusion, or 1 page further discussion, or 1 page the new horizons in this area, and so on. And that's your teamwork, not by any one of yourself. And I will include this one and your structure for your team's goals, not individual goals. You know, I have told you that you got your team, your scores, your grades, 2 parts. 1 part, your team, that means your structure. And 2, the individual. Your writing. Okay. The structure, it is logical, it is very logically and very suitably arranged, and you got a very good team score. Certainly, team score is just a little smaller proportion of your score. And this is the main proportion, individual scores. So your writing, your own writing is responsible for your scores. But if you told me that you want to, each one has his individual scores, and all of you want to have a conclusion, and conclusion should be put in this one, because it is not written by any one of you, but written together. It is written by all of you, so it should be included in the team score. So, but it is not necessary. I have told you just your individual writing is enough for me. Okay, and now next week I would have the agenda 1, your division of labor, your title of your parts, and your short description of your work, just as the agenda 2, just some short description. And if you have done much than short description, what you have done, just show it. Don't worry about it is alright or not alright. And if you have some questions, we would like to research on what, but we don't know how, and we don't know how to talk about it. We don't know how to discuss about it. We don't know how to use our concept we have learned on the first part of our course. We don't know how to apply the concepts. You can ask any kind of question to me, and I will try to answer you at my best. Okay, just present what you have done and ask what you want to ask. And the agenda too, you have given me your short description, and you have given me your title of your parts. So next week, your division of labor, and each of you stand up and introduce your part. Just a few sentences is enough. Each of you introduce your own part. My interest is I am going to discuss what. I think the most important is what. Just use such sentence. It is not so difficult as you might imagine. Maybe some of you imagined, oh no, I will stand up and say something in English. It is horrible. I am totally terrified. Don't worry. You can use some sentence just like that. And I would, unless I don't understand what you mean, just as I ask them, or I would directly, without asking you questions, so you don't have to worry about. Unless I don't understand, so I don't ask you questions. I would give you my advice. Okay? So you don't have to worry that I don't know how to speak and I worry about the teacher's questions. You don't have to worry. Normally, you would not be asked. You just present in 3 or 4 sentences and to introduce your part. That's enough. Okay? And the first hour next week, the first hour for the agenda 1 and agenda 2, and the second hour is today to introduce the textuality, contextuality, intertextuality, and in our consumer society or in our the digital era or in our new medialization world. Okay, 10 minutes pause. Remember which agenda you are of them? Remember? Okay. Write down your name in the recording place. Agenda 1, agenda 2, agenda 4. And I remember none of you chose agenda 4. Agenda 4 is there are none group. Okay? So we have 1, 2, 3, and 2, 5, and 1, 6, 1, 7. Right? Okay. And now about this point. Moment. I should make some photo of what I have written, and when it's done, to have some discussion. Okay, and 2 groups have asked me questions during the post. So we have a very, very long post here now. And you can ask me anytime, I have told you. And some principles are the same. For example, when you have too many contents to write, and how should you do? And 2 groups have the same problem. So I have told them how to do it. Later, in our discussion, I will tell every one of you. Okay, and now the new textualities, contextuality, and intertextualities. So complicated concept. A new way to treat our title of the course. Education and social development. One way is to use the very, very old two concept. Text. You know text. We have several texts that you read at the first half of our semester. Okay, they are text. And some of your course, you have textbook. Text is the writings, is the paragraphs, is what you read. It's text. And you know this word. Context. Have you noticed that? Have you ever noticed that? Text and context. So what's context? Con is the same idea of con, idea of the sameness, of the correct. For example, contemporary. You know contemporary means nowadays. The contemporary crisis of our educational system. Okay, contemporary. Now, what's temporary? Temporary is the term to describe the duration of time. And because you are living at this time, and I am living at this time, all of us are living at this same time. So, all this temporary means together contemporary. Now it sounds like English course. I teach you what con means. So context. What is context? For example, I am going to make a speech today afternoon from 3 o'clock and 40, okay, 3:40 to 5:30 to introduce this book in the library. In the library, to introduce this book. They have the serious speeches, and each speaker should be responsible for introduction of one book, and I choose this one because the low birth rate is not just a Japanese problem. This is written by a Japanese. This is not a Japanese problem. This is a Taiwanese problem. This is a Chinese problem. This is a global problem. And so if you read something about education and how should one be a parent, and the author tell us we need a science, not a political science, not a psychological science, not a social science, but a new science for parenting, for parenthood. You must learn how to be a parent. To be a father or to be a mother is not so easy. You are not born to be one. You must learn to be one. And it would be good for what? So this kind of, you should learn to be parent. This concept, this text one part of this book. So if this is the text here, and the context is the whole book, should be the context. The narrow stir context is when you want to read this sentence, you must realize how the last sentence and how the next sentence say. So, what is context? Context is one. In order to realize this sentence, you must realize this and this. So you can realize what it means. This is context. And the second, the whole book is and here is some pages or chapter. And the book is the context. And the third, the whole works. There are many books written by this author. And here is one book. You want to realize what Romeo and Juliet means. You must consider the complete works of William Shakespeare in order to realize what Romeo and Juliet means. This is context. This is text. And if you want to realize, for example, William Shakespeare, you should realize the literary world and the social world. You realize how the Elizabethan English word is. Then you can realize what William Shakespeare means. If you don't understand the English, you don't understand English history, you cannot totally understand William Shakespeare. So this is the context. There are several meanings of context. So from our discussion, we can say in one way, if we treat education as text, we want to understand how education operates. We want to understand what education means. We want to understand how education changes. And we must understand the corresponding social development. If you don't understand the Taiwanese educational reforms long history, you cannot understand the 12-year compulsory educational reform. You must have the knowledge of the context, and you can understand the text. For example, and we can also say that, for example, the e-book is the text. And who is the context? You may say, education. Okay. And it's not the only answer. There are many possible answers. And you can say the digital learning. is the context. It is right too. You can choose this one as context to understand ebook. You can choose this one as context to understand ebook. And it brings you two different papers. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So you can choose, there are many possible contexts. Many possible contexts. So it depends on what question you have raised. What question you have raised. It is the most important things. So from their report, their temporary results, they want to compare the traditional learning model and the new learning model. So it may be the broader, a little broader than this one. Their context is learning. But specific learning, traditional and digital. Not all the learning, but just two ways of learning, maybe. And they can change their context when they have more data, when they understand much more than today. They can change what context they are going to apply to. So we are talking about the new textualities. What is text and textual? And we are going to be an English course. And now context, contextual, and contextuality. This is the adjective, and this is the new noun. Okay. Something according to, something of, something from text. It is textual. So we would say that the textual arrangement, the textual clue, the textual blah 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 is A or B. And we use this adjective to emphasize that the something is from the text. So we use textual. Something is around the globe, so it's global. Okay, something around local, the locals, and so it is local. Something around the nation, so it is national. Okay, something around, from, of, the text, so it is textual. So it's all the things around, about, of, from, and so on, a text. It is textuality. All these things is textuality. And all these things to context is contextuality. So we would say that in the globalized new world, for example, the textuality and contextuality of local culture has been changed. For example, you must explain, introduce your own local culture to the foreign tourist. And you must explain it simply, understandable, and attractive to bring the tourist to you. So it would change how you introduce, how you describe, how you realize your local culture. you must put it understandable. You must not put it so complicated, so difficult to understand. You must put it easy to understand. And not for tourists. After some time, also for your children, for the next generation. They understand their own local culture from this simply introduced, understandable introduction, right? And they don't understand their own culture in the difficult, complicated way, but from the very modern and clear way. So you change your textuality. How the text is your local culture, but how to describe it, around it is textuality. You change the textuality because of the global contextuality. Overall is tourist, and you need tourists. You need them. It's the new contextuality. So the new contextuality, you need tourists. You need tourism. And the new textuality, you must follow some way to describe yourself to them. This is the new contextuality. And if we use not just the local culture and also education. For example, some fact, some concept, and so on. When we talk about ability, they are from ancient time. The Asian people talk about ability. We should teach children to do what and what, and we should give them the chance to learn the abilities. Ability is an old concept, but the textuality about ability has been changed. Now, when we talk about ability, it means sometimes not just to improve yourself, to make yourself better, but sometimes it also means to compete with the others, to be a winner rather than a loser. Right? Because we emphasize this is a global competition level. We are facing the competition around the world. You know the book, The World is Flat. Last year, I introduced the book in library, just as today's afternoon. Last year, I introduced two books. One is The World is Flat, the other is Professionalism. And The World is Flat. Now, many of us believe that the world is flat. So we are facing internal competition with the others. Is it that right or wrong? That's another question. But many believe that is one question. But many believe that it brings change in how we understand ability. If we believe that we are always being facing competition and we must improve our ability. And ability means to be winner, to win over the others, and not to improve yourself. Rather than, at the same time, improve yourself and to be a winner. At the same time, but rather winner. This has been emphasized. So we have the new textuality and new contextuality. And also, by education, we have many texts. For example, we have the textbooks. And we have the guidelines. How many hours should one high school student learn English? How many hours? It must be displayed in the guideline. The government has the guideline for each school, for every student. You have, for example, 8 hours or 6 hours a week in learning English, or in learning Chinese, or in learning others. So the guideline, and you know the guideline is the battlefield. And these people say, Chinese is so important. The planned hours is not enough. And the other says, English is so important. It is not enough. And all the requirements, you collect them together, you will find the high school students has 48 hours a day. Because each one which they emphasize also be considered by the government. So each one said, oh, English is so important, Chinese is so important, mathematics is so important, and so on and so on and so on. So it's a battlefield. Every forces compete with each other. So this is the method, but this is a concept. When I told you that the guideline is a battlefield, I do not mean there is really a battle, really army and weapon and people dies. No, it's just a metaphor. It's just a rhetorical metaphor. I told you that it is a battlefield. But if you focus on the word field, we have that field by Bourdieu. We all live in the field, and we have our chemical, and we have the practice, and how the field operates. Okay, each field has its own logic. And we have not just the standard text. We have all the other texts. Such as media text. How would you know that? Have your teacher taught you at the school? No. I read it on internet. Such dialogue between parents and children. Have your teacher told you that? No, I read it on the internet, on the magazines, on the newspapers, or on the video games. So the media text is a very, very important text. So media text, it has other textuality. We all know that media text built a media reality. And it is not the social reality. But it brings the influence on social reality because we don't experience everything by our own self. We read media, newspaper, television, internet resources, and so on. And it brings us the framework to understand how the things goes. And when the newspaper chose some word to be the title of the news, it brings some influence for us. For example, we all know that the Kuomintang had experienced greatest lose since 1949. But it brings no sense when you talk about 1949 because in Taiwan we don't have the free election since 1949. I forgot since which year, 1950s or 1950s, I think, early 1950s. So long as we have elections, this is the first time, so collapse. So when word to talk about the collapse is the Kuomintang has experienced a 徐蚌会战士的大会败. Understand? You must learn something about 徐蚌会战. You know 徐蚌会战? No. Oh, it's a triumphantly victory of the communist army. The three famous battles to beat the Kuomintang from mainland China to Taiwan. The last one, 2 million soldiers. 2 million soldiers compete with each other, struggle for the victory. 徐州蚌埠 at the flat land without maybe you call them 徐州, not 徐蚌. Okay, the different conceptualization. You call them just 徐州, not 徐蚌. Here in Taiwan, we call them 徐蚌 because they are two sides, not just the 徐州. So it's a total collapse. So many use this kind of title. And this kind of title is, what's the textuality? It's the historical textuality. It wants to remember you of the historical failure by Kuomintang. So the title uses this historical data. So the textuality is historical. There are many kinds of textuality. And you know, media reality is not the social reality, not the same. You know, the media has distorted many things. There are many distortions. So, So we don't have the time to discuss media when you have the interest. Next semester, I will give the lecture, Media and Social Development in Chinese. Maybe so. And then we will discuss how media reality, how media text, how they are. But now we just learn that media text is also a resource for our learning, for the students and for the adults, then media text is very, very important. And we are living in a more and more medialized world. More and more medialized world. We have many. We depends on media more than ever. For example, if you want to greet somebody, you want to congratulate somebody, you go to his house to visit him or her and to say congratulations. I have heard you got a very great prize, and my congratulations. You go to his house, her house, and to give the person your congratulations face to face with your words, with your non-verbal face impressions and so on. You express your congratulations. But nowadays, how you pay your congratulations? You use Facebook online, and you give the person many, and you give the person many laughing faces. You don't impress the person. You don't face to face graduate the person. You use media as instrument to express your graduations. And as I have said, about text, there are pictures. The same text, congratulations. Face to face or via Facebook, the same words, but without the same meaning. They are different. Their textuality is different, and also their contextuality is also different. And next week we will discuss how education faces a challenge in the consumer society, how the many informations and how the many new textualities and contextualities change our educational system and change our educational system. OK， 好了，讲中文的没有问题，没有问题就下课。然后下个礼拜那个单词写到哪里了？是啊，还没写。来，写完了吗？